What's up everybody, welcome back to the Engineer channel. My name is Tim, the engineer, and in today's video, I'm finally gonna show you how I've got my E-RUNR prototype officially running on Ryobi power tool batteries. But first, I wanna talk a little bit about some updates coming to the channel. I've been doing some reflecting on the reasons why this particular project has taken me so long to build. Because actually one of the things I pride myself in as an engineer is my ability to prototype quickly. And I figured some things out that I think are impactful and that I can actually make changes with. So first things first, I want to start off with some changes coming to the channel. All right, with all of that being said, here are 4 things I'm changing on the channel immediately. The first is that the videos are going to be a bit more casual. So they'll be less rehearsed, which means I need less time to prep and I can get them out more often. I mean, here I am in my basement. This is a one-man operation, and I really want to make sure that I'm not trying to keep the quality so high that I'm not actually doing the thing which I want to do, which is to create content. The second thing I'm going to do is start focusing a lot more on short-form content. I actually ran some experiments earlier this year on creating short-form content, was getting like 500,000 views on some of my videos, and it's amazing just how much easier right now in this current climate of these tech companies wanting to push that. You can get more traction with that. So I also can share that short form content across my social media channels, so I can post it to Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So you be on the lookout for more short style content coming out shortly, which is gonna be something new to the channel because I hadn't been focusing on that too much. The third thing is building off camera. So I'm going to be, focusing just on making progress as quickly as I can, and then updating you all with build updates on a somewhat regular basis. And then the last thing being letting you into other parts of my life. Turns out this is just one element of the person that I am and one facet, and I do lots of other things like writing and building things here at the house that I think people would find interesting. So I want to branch out from this being my only identity on YouTube and my social channels into something a bit more varied. When you're trying to build anything for the first time and you're not sure if it's going to work, whether that's software being able to get enough traction in the market or a prototype actually just performing its intended function, you should always first use a minimum viable product. And what does that mean? A minimum viable product means that what is the least work you can do to validate a concept before you go on and add additional features 1, 2, and 3. So the mistake I was previously making was I was moving right towards an enhanced product. So instances of this would be like my automatic steering and sensing system. That should be a subsequent revision to my MVP, which is just a rolling powered chassis with the gas springs for the E-RUNR. So basically what I was doing before is I was building everything shown here in the dotted line, which is not what I should have been doing. And I should have just been building the minimum viable product, the least complicated device that gets me running augmented, even if that's in a straight line, and then providing enhancements from there. And with all that out of the way, let's finally get around to showing you the demo and build update on the E-RUNR. So I've got the hub motor hooked up here, and I'll put it up on jack stands in a minute so we can spin it up. But the hub motor wires come back to the motor controller, and then I've actually powered this motor controller off of a sort of a distribution block of bus bars that I've created here. And then those bus bars are connected back to 6 of these Ryobi battery receptacles. Now I've got 3 of these wired in series per side, and then those 2 sides wired in parallel. So what that ends up being is that when I eventually have all 4 amp hour battery packs, I get effectively 20 volts per 18 volt battery. So I get about 60 volts per side, and then wired in parallel gets me 8 amp hours. So 60 volts, 8 amp hours, those connect up to here, and then that drives our 3000 watt hub motor. Now this wire would probably be a little light duty if I were running continuous cycle on this hub motor, because this hub motor is like 3000 watts. But the reality is, and you'll see this once it's spinning, I mean, this hub motor is way overpowered for the application. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to be able to get quick bursts of speed in the case of like wanting to sprint and accelerate fast in case I eventually race, real sprinters. But most of the time it's gonna be running at a very, very low power output. And that's why I think that's totally fine. I ended up sourcing this motor kit from China, and there were a couple of complications when I was putting this together as a result of that. The first was that I actually connected things wrong based on the wiring diagram that was provided to me and burned up a wire. So I had to go in and repair those wires and plug it into the right connector. The second thing is that a lot of the documentation and even the controller itself are in Chinese. I will post this up as a photo here in editing, but I was able to use Google Translate and then just, change this over to see this is just all speed on the bottom and then low, medium, and high. So most of the time, especially in the beginning, it'll be nice having that low range mode just for testing because this thing is crazy fast. So let's pop the batteries in and we'll turn it on. All right, so I've got the E-RUNR up on jack stands here, and I've only got one side of the batteries in, so I'm running currently 60 volts, same voltage, but only 4 amp hours of power. And this thing, honestly, I knew it was going to be overpowered, but now seeing it in practice, even on the low setting, here's my throttle. I'm eventually going to make a little 3D printed handhold for this, so I'll just be able to squeeze it and I'll have to integrate some safeties and shutoffs and brakes and everything, because okay, that's the low setting, not too scary. I have to be very careful, although I have this unit directed at the wall, so if it ever popped off these jack stands, at least it would go into the wall. But this is the medium setting. Okay. And here's high, and I'm just gonna get a small blip. Now, granted, there's no drag applied to the wheel, so it's just free spinning on the bearings, but still, if this was on the ground, that would start accelerating very quickly, and I am in front of it, so my legs have to be able to accelerate to meet that. So I think for a while, at least in the initial testing, we'll be running it in the low mode, which is like that. I think it'll be about 15 to 18 miles per hour top speed. One other update on the E-RUNR is that I got the gas springs mounted. So I still need to make the connection that's going to connect me to the harness that we made in a previous video. But you can now see some of the movement of the gas springs, and left to right actually works better when there's a little bit of downward pressure, which simulates me being connected to the device. But other than that, the next steps are to get all of these electronics, 3D printed housing for the battery, actually on the unit. And rather than working on a steering system, I'm actually just gonna mount turnbuckles to allow these wheels to point straight. And we're just gonna try running with it in a straight line. So that will be coming up soon on the channel. And that's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you guys all appreciated the honesty as I'm working on becoming a better content creator, iterating to bring the best possible product I can to you all. And thank you so much for following along with the journey. I'll post up my other social media usernames as soon as I start posting content over there, so you guys can follow along. I'll try and have things to be a bit varied between the channels. And next steps are, we're gonna get strapped up to this thing once I get it a little further put together. Super excited, maybe a little scared for that moment, but we'll have all that here on the channel. And until then, onward and upward, and I'm out.
I grew up in a place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave to find my way. Caught up in a daydream, I beat my mind up there almost daily. It's how I pass time, no opinions safely. It's how I understand what I want in this place, see, cause everybody wanted to